Warning, if you're faint of heart or easily offended, this show is not for you.
All right, well, this is the Nick Vertucci show, and there's not going to be any cute opening today because Veronica's not here. We're here with Eric Persson. Eric, would you like to say hello?
What's up, guys?
The signature. Anyways, this is the Nick Vertucci show. Let's go. Okay, Eric, you're down. It's Friday. You played last night on Hustler.
I did.
You did. You lost $250,000.
Yeah, like 250.
Yeah. Yeah. And we talked about for like 2 minutes, and let's talk about what you told me. I asked you about the game, and you told me a couple things. You said, A, the game was too small, which fucks you up a little bit, right? And you were telling me about some of the mixture of the game. And what was the problem last night?
Well, honestly, everyone in the game is super friendly, but at the end of the day, that's a really small game, 1-200. I don't really play that low at all, and I'm used to playing with a lot more talented players, frankly. And so, what happens is when you play with a lot of players who are in different stages of their poker career, especially in the beginning, they tend to overvalue a lot of different hands that would get different weight, and they'll bluff value goes way down. And so really is the optimum strategy in a game like that is honestly sort of to knit up, wait for top pair and bet it. And if like you're just trying to be a winning poker player, that would probably be the most optimal strategy. The second best strategy would be just to embrace the volatility with a lot of really weak opponents like Alan Keating does, and just create even more volatility, knowing that you're going to have the edges and slight edges you're good with, and you're going to push them further. And in the end, you're going to probably be very profitable as well. So for me, it's just one of those days where I thought that Dwan was coming in. It's going to be me, Dwan, and Tonius. Dwan obviously flaked at the last minute, so it ended up just being where there's not a lot of balance, and it just meant that people are having fun, and I love playing with DJ, and Batman's fun to play with, but for me, when you're playing much higher, I'm playing 2,000-4,000, even as high as 8,000-16,000. A game like 1-200, honestly, I'm just doing it for views, and so losing's fine because I'm kind of polarizing. I'm a polarizing player, and there's haters, and there's lovers, and there's defenders, and there's champions, and there's people who think I suck, but they all watch at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I get some of the highest views. 2 of the 3 highest views are Hustlers. I'm on it, so it's like
right.
So that it's kind of like this old Howard Stern thing, where it's like when people hated Howard Stern, they watched twice as long than the people who liked him, but they all watch.
Right.
And so I do this for views. I'm building a brand, Maverick Gaming, and it's an authentic gambler's brand. So it's about my casinos, and it's built by gamblers for gamblers, and this is the life I live. And so I'm happy to give people a glimpse into it. Stream probably represents maybe 4% of my play, but it's an important part because it gets all the social media going, and it builds a lot of awareness for Maverick. So
it's really cool. Yeah, you hit about 10 things I'm going to ask you about, so I'm going to circle back
Go ahead.
to a lot of this in a second. But in layman's terms, and of course you said it fine, but in layman's terms, basically it's like this. First of all, the game is too small for you.
Yeah.
You play, like you mentioned, 4, 8, even sometimes 16K no-limit blinds, right?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'll ask you that in a minute, where the fuck you play that at and with who. First, what you're basically saying is this. If you have a table full of wrecks that the money means a lot more to them than you do, it's hard. So you like a mixture of some good players with some wrecks, because then you're able to navigate through. Because the other way, like you said, you either have to be Alan Keating and just embrace total variance, because you can't. Your bluffs are mean less, right?
Way less.
Yeah, way less. And so, or the other strategy would be to be me and to knit it up. And to play that way, because the games I play in are like that. They're crazy. They're all over the place. And if I was to play like that, I would have to embrace the variance and have swings that are massive, unless I play the way I do. So it makes sense to me. Where do you play 4, 8, 16,000? Where does this happen?
I mean, those are private games, and honestly, I'm not going to get into details. And It's a lot of people that the broader America population is very much aware of. So it's like it's celebrities, and it's big businessmen, and
Right.
And it's games that'll never be on TV.
What do you, of course, and probably for a host of a lot of reasons, those people don't want to be on TV,
Right.
can't be. What do you enjoy more? And now, I understand that you enjoy the bigger games, but do you enjoy more that private setting forget about the blinds, or do you enjoy more being on stream, putting on a show?
Well, for me, I was born to be in a casino, so I just love everything about just the environment, the smell, the noise, everything, and they're just all different. So when you're playing in big privates and with people who are very successful in what they do, it's very interesting. The conversations are a lot different than conversation you'd normally have, because you're able to get insight from people who've really succeeded in life.
Right.
And that's super cool. So, and then it's a lot of fun to go play at Hustler and DJ's just having a great time. And Batman, he's trying his best, and he's got these little digs or whatever, and and so it's fun to see those
Post-it
people.
notes, yeah.
Yeah, Post-it notes. It's just fun to. It's all different, So
Yeah.
it's not like you say, hey, I would do this or that.
It's the best of both worlds.
But yeah, and streaming for me serves a purpose, unless it's like super high end streaming, and like when I'm on High Stakes Poker, and I had Dwan, Ivy, Garrett Adelstein, Bryn Kenny, and myself, like so unless I'm getting super talent, which is also a lot of fun, or like I just did a bunch of stuff with Andrew Roble and Dean Eggs, and it's like that was also a lot of fun. So it's like it just depends. It's all different.
Yeah.
And I just love everything about being in a casino.
Totally. No, I get it. And let's talk about being a casino. Let's get some of your background out of the way, because I have a million questions for you. But this is from you. You graduated from Georgetown law degree.
Yeah.
And you had an undergrad from UNLV.
I do 5 undergrad degrees.
Oh, I'm sorry. You did. Yeah, 5 undergrads, and you got 64 credits in 1 year. What were you doing? Were you just in the class all day, or what the fuck?
7 in the morning till 9:30 at night. I think 150.
What was the purpose of that? You just are, once you get focused on something, you just go after it hard, or was there a plan for that?
It's partly what you said is accurate. Like either I do something and I do it really, really well, or I don't do it at all.
Yeah.
It's sort of like my personality. And but at the time, it came about because I moved out when I was 16. I put myself through undergrad and law school as a poker player, and
At 16, you played poker.
18 actually.
Okay.
But I moved out. I was in Washington. I came to Vegas. When I was
Yeah,
18. I started then, and so I've never really had a lot. I didn't have a lot of guidance. I didn't have a lot of mentorship, and had to figure things out on my own. And I was doing this intern for a senator, Richard Bryan, in D.C. Went to this class like how to get into Georgetown Law. That's where I wanted to go. And I have like a 2.5 GPA, and everyone in there's from like Harvard, Brown,
Right.
all these fucking Ivy Leagues. And I was like, man, I either have to do something to separate myself, or I have to like lower my sights. And I'm not really someone who lowers their sights. So I started thinking about how do I stand out. And so at the time, the home run record was 61.
Yeah, you need the mic a little closer. Yeah,
So-
I figured.
Yeah, so at the time, the home run record was 61. So I thought, no one knew that. I was just going to try to get 64 credits. I had to map out how I was going to do it. And so I started taking, in summer school, I started doing 3 classes, sort of 9 credits. In the second semester, I did like 17. It ended up being 41 credits during the summer. And I got a dean to sign off on them, and I got straight A's. And then I came back in the fall, and I had it all mapped out, 7 in the morning till 9:30 at night, school on Saturday. And if I did, it was going to be 64 credits. And he signed off because I just got 47 credits straight A's. And so I did it, And then as a result of doing that, national coverage everywhere, like New York Times, booked on Letterman, canceled, U.S. News and World Report, like you name it, I was probably in it. And it worked. And it pretty much got into every school that I wanted to get into.
Yeah.
And most importantly, I got into Georgetown. And so that's where I went.
And you mentioned that it was interesting when you're playing in the home games to play with these guys that are playing in business at that level. But you mentioned to me in some of the notes I took that you ran slots and marketing for Sands, but at some point you told me here that you worked for 5 billionaires.
That's right.
And did that have a profound effect on your trajectory of what you wanted for yourself, I would assume, right? Because that was like, if you're networking and around that, I would assume that had a big say on who you became.
Yeah, and I think this is actually pretty interesting, only because, I think one of the reasons that I resonate with so many other poker players is I think a lot of them are like me. They've had to, whatever they have, they've had to take in life, and they didn't have people handing them shit, and I think people feel authenticity about me, and so like, when I moved out when I was 16, and I made this huge climb to where I'm at now, and it's like, how did I do it? And one of the big steps for me was this guy Michael Gaughan, who owned Coast Resorts at the time, a bunch of casinos in Vegas. His son Brandon Gaughan was roommates with Allen Iverson at Georgetown, so he was a big Georgetown booster, and John Thompson's partners of his. And so he reached out, he gave me a job when I was a first-year law student, and that was the first billionaire I worked for, and he gave me a chance. Not only that, he did the best thing he could possibly do for me. He put me to work. So I worked every functioning job, whether I went to dealer school as a floorman, a pit manager, soft count, hard count, because we had coin back then. I worked in sports books, surveillance. So I actually knew all the jobs, and that was my job there. He was just paying me to train me, and it was amazing. And so Michael gave me my first big break, and without that, who knows? I mean, I feel like I would have found some other break, but he's the one that did it for me. And from there, I sort of just went on, and I went to Harrah's, and then left Harrah's, and I went to Delaware North. There's Jeremy Jacobs, they own like the Boston Bruins, and he has a bunch of casinos. I ran his biggest casino for him. And so they're all different.
You look at. Go ahead. Yeah.
Can you just pause 1 second?
We're organic and shit here. Okay, your wife?
Yeah, sir.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. Get her, and I'm gonna turn this heat down. Okay. Well, we're back. We let your lovely wife in. You just powered down 2 cheeseburgers. It looked like.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we could have did that right on air, but we didn't. But that's okay. All right. So you were telling me basically that you were trained to open casinos because you were trained in almost every aspect of them, how you were mentioning. And, you mentioned this, you said, that was kind of your break. And who knows, you might have been doing something else if that didn't happen. And I've often said this, I said it recently, I think I tweeted it or I put it somewhere, it's in my book that I wrote. And it's like, a lot of people think people that are very successful just got lucky. It's not about getting lucky. It's whether it was that opportunity or another opportunity, I believe that certain people that have that success mentality that are just going to go get it are going to do it no matter what. That just happened to be your break. If it was another break, I'm sure you could have had 27 fucking McDonald's. Like, it just doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's really 2 types of people in the world. There's people who find a way, and there's people who find an excuse.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, So I think that get out of bed, bust your ass. I mean, I reinvented myself. I had a 2.5 GPA. I ended up graduating with 3.6, Dean's List, and every law school taking me, all because
you made the decision.
Class. Yeah, and I realized what it took, and I didn't have guidance, didn't have people telling me ahead of time. I had to figure it out. But once I figured it out, I didn't quit. I didn't sit down and get demoralized. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I figured out a fucking way.
Yeah, and that's what it just comes down to. And it's like there's such a poverty mentality out there and a victimhood mentality for most people. And like, I find literally most of the people that have found success, not all, a lot of people have been born with a silver spoon, but like myself, I found a lot of success in my life. I'm K through 12 educated. Like you said, didn't have, I just came from a very modest background, didn't have a ton of support. But I knew at some point in my life I was going to figure it out. And it was just basically as soon as one door opened, if that was a door I wanted to hit and go through, I did it. And then I see a lot of folks that have everything behind them to be a success, and they're just not. So I just think it really comes from, I've said this also, and I wrote in my book also, is that I believe if you took all the successful self-made people in the world and you stripped them from their wealth and you gave them, at least left them with something, and especially their knowledge, what they've already have, within who knows what that time is, those people would rise right back to the top, and the people that you gave it to would rise right back or go right back to the bottom. I just believe that personally. So now the name of your company, and by the way, I just changed my hat because I wanted you to bring me a hat. So like now I'm in here. It's the name of your son.
Yeah.
How old's your son?
Maverick just turned 10.
Nice.
And Maverick Gaming is named after him.
Yeah. So you named it after him. And is that your only child?
No, I got 4 kids. I got another son named Ace. He's 4.
Okay.
And my poker rooms are named after him. And then I have 2 daughters, Angelique and Angelina. They're 19 and 20.
I have a daughter named Angelina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's very cool. That's great, man. Families, that's the nuts. So for you, your casinos, are these, I know nothing about them. Are they card rooms? Are they big casinos? Are they all profitable? I mean, obviously something's profitable. You're doing very well. But like, talk to me about your businesses and how you leveraged or how you were able to, because a lot of people wonder, and I often wonder too, like how someone gets their start. Like, did you finance your first casino? Did someone invest with you? How did you eventually roll that into 27?
Well, you had fast forward through my career, but I spent 10 years as a super senior executive at Las Vegas Sands, which is the largest gaming company in the world. And at some point, there was an opportunity to buy the Windover Nugget. And Windover Nugget has 650 hotel rooms, like 1,000 slots, and 40 table games, and a bunch of restaurants. It's big. It's a big full-on casino, and it was doing like $4.5 million a year. And we knew that if we bought it, me and my partner Justin Beltram, we could do $10 million the first year. And so we had to. It was for sale for $43 million. I had about $4.5 million off the top of my head.
And did you have that $4.5 million from working for Sands and saving, doing very well, bonuses, gambling? Where did that come from?
I was paid very well at Las Vegas Sands.
Okay.
And that company's full of mercenaries, top talent in the whole industry. And the people who survive and thrive there get compensated very well, but you got to be really good at what you do. And so I was there for a decade, and so I'd put together enough money that I had that.
Yeah. And
then I got a Chatham Financial to go out and give me. I had to personally guarantee everything I had, which was I had like 40 restaurants at that time. I had a home, and he gave me a 10% interest only loan for $39 million. And in the first year, we took EBITDA from 4.5 to 10 million, which then created about another 50 million of implied equity value, which we pledged and bought a bunch more card rooms up in Washington. And so up in Washington, unlike in Windover, where I have 2 casinos, they're card rooms. So what they have is 15 table games. They might have a showroom. They all have restaurants and a bar.
Yeah.
And they're more like the size of like Chili's or an Applebee's or something.
Okay.
Than the large scale casinos. In Colorado, I have big full on casinos again, just like the stuff in Windover or the stuff I have in Elko. So Maverick's got a bunch of different things, but we're in northern Nevada. We're in the Seattle market, basically, or Washington State market. Right. And we're in the Denver market.
Okay.
And 27 properties.
Nice. And so you're not as dumb as you look.
I mean, I think I look pretty smart.
You do look pretty smart. I say that only because I was leading into this next thing, which says, don't fuck with you, because you said you're trained in advanced Krav Maga?
Krav Maga, yeah.
Krav Maga. And it says here that particular thing specializes in biting, choking, and eye gouging. Yeah, so there's no fucking around when that happens.
It's why you don't see Krav Maga tournaments, because
it's because no one could see after the tournament was over.
It's threat elimination. Krav Maga means threat elimination, and the whole purpose is to end threats as efficiently and quickly as possible.
Yeah.
My son's about 80% the way through to being a black belt. He's a brown belt right now, and he's crushing it. The problem is he weighs 60 pounds, but as he gets bigger and older, it's going to serve him well. And I think, what I think it's important in life to be authentic and be who you are. And and part of that is being comfortable with who you are. And so the things you can do to give yourself confidence. And I don't really have fear. And I'm more of a person in life that just see what the fuck happens. And one time, as Ann knows, we were in like a Foot Locker or some shit in New York City, and this guy was working there, and he got commission, right? So he's like 6'6", 260 pounds, big African American guy, and he's writing his name on everybody's boxes in line because that way he get paid. And then he took these customers in front of me. I'm like, you're not gonna fucking take these people in front of me. And I'm with Ann, and we were with Maverick. Maverick's like 4 or 5 at the time. And he's like, he never said anything. I just fucking stepped into him.
Yeah.
We were going to fucking go down. I was already thinking, how am I getting this motherfucker to the ground? Because he's like, I was big at the time, bigger than I am now, but he's a lot taller. He's a lot stronger.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was just about, I was going to fucking try to kill him. And so what happened was the manager got in between and literally made him go take a timeout in the corner. Yeah. And he had to stand there. He was so fucking angry, right? He was watching this motherfucker because he couldn't come do anything. And I was like, fuck you. Like, I was just hoping he'd want to fight. It's kind of like Nate Diaz would be.
The Diaz brothers are no fear, no rules type of thing.
And, but I'll tell you the funny part of the story is when this shit's going to go down, you know what she does? She runs out the fucking door. She abandons me. Yeah. She's supposed to kick the guy in the head when he gets to the ground.
Yeah, you're smart. Listen, you're the reasonable one. You got a 3-year-old. You need to get out of there.
I disagree. She got to kick him in the head.
Yeah, nah, that's all right. How about like in business? Have you ever had fear in business, or is this just when you say I have no fear, you just mean of another man or a situation? But what about in business and the stress of it and the anxiety? There's a lot of people that, even really great entrepreneurs, that do struggle with the fear of failure, etc.
Yeah, I'm just wired different. I'm more of a person who literally, no matter what it is, whether it's like look, yes, I got this hand with the guy from England, and he straddles 2,000 and without looking, and he somehow wakes up with kings, which I don't know, and ace flops. He makes it 18,000 pre-flop. He's only got like 80 grand, right? So
yeah.
I shove him all in because the ace flops. I'm like, if you don't hold an ace, let's just see if he fucking calls.
Yeah, if he's got the balls.
So that's my point. It's like, I don't know. Just see what fucking happens. I don't care. Like,
yeah.
So
that has to serve you really well in poker, because not having fear is a big thing in poker for a lot of players, especially, if bankroll's on table or it's the numbers get too big for them. But you're just saying you don't have that chip.
Very few people are willing to bluff, and you can YouTube me for the amounts of dollars that I do, even at the top level pros.
Yeah.
And there's arguments against it. Like if you're GTO, you basically never bluff. So it's like it's one of these things where I'm going to do it because I think it's fun, and especially in a tiny game like yesterday where it's 60 grand. Let's just see what the fuck happens, because I think maybe it matters to him. Maybe 60,000 matters to him.
That's your edge.
Yeah,
because it probably does in most cases.
Call. To his credit, he made the call. It took him a while. But
Who is it?
Call. He's from England. I wish I could tell you.
Ollie G.
Ollie G.
Yeah.
And he made the call to his credit. And but for me, it was like, maybe he even has a weak ace unfold. It's just we're just gonna see what happens. But I am prepared. So like when it comes to Maverick Gaming and I make a bid, to buy something, or if there's an issue, or I just go right at it. I don't.
Do you fear anything? Is there anything you could say, hey, look, this is something I fear? It could be anything. Yeah. It could be the IRS. It could be the feds. It could be your wife. I'm afraid right now. As soon as she walked in, are you afraid of something?
Sometimes I'm afraid she won't put up with my shit, but like it seems like she does so far. So,
yeah. Well, if she decides not to, she's rich. So, so either way, you're drawn dead. She's not. But anyways, yeah. No, you guys. I'm just kidding.
I just don't. Yeah, I don't think about failure. I think about how I'm going to succeed, and I choose to use my time putting myself in really good positions rather than having anxiety. And that's part of the reason why social media is I think is actually very toxic, and I think it gets to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like pretty.
I was
going
to ask you about that.
Yeah, it's like I don't give a fuck. Like I go right back at them, and what they don't understand is it's easy to be a bitch behind a fake screen name and talk shit, say things you never say in person. Like to me, I have no respect for that.
How old are you?
I'm 48.
Okay, so I'm older than you are, but we're from basically the same generation. And I will tell you, I was going to ask you about this. It was on some of my questions here, because it seems like, we both have, you way more than me. We both have like really polarizing personalities. Like our personality, you're more than I am. Like you're really polarizing. I am to an extent. And I catch so much shit and so much heat that you and I talked about it offline like a couple of weeks ago, where you're just like, I don't give a fuck, right? And one of my problems is there was a time where I actually did. I'm now getting to that point. But what you said is this. It's like, man, I wish it was the old days, because it's like, look, and people are going to hear this and they're going to say, oh, God's violence. No, but it's like, you can sit behind that keyboard and you control me. And it's really crazy because I'm not used to that, because from my generation, if you did that, it had to be in person, and there was consequences for it. So like if I was to mouth off like people do on the keyboard, I could face consequences for that, or so could you from me. Now you don't even know who the fuck it is. And they're just out there, and it's such a weird dichotomy to me, because it's such a it's so toxic that it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like I just call them out, and and at my core, and I think that's why my supporters are just so strong, and they're so active, and they attack back, and they go back.
Yeah, that's nice to have that base,
and they fucking, and I think it's because they know at its core I'm authentic. Like, I believe in my heart that violence does solve things.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. I agree with you. I kind of have, because I do this podcast and now do this, the show and everything else, like I've watered down some of my thoughts and things just because sometimes it's just not worth it because of social media. But yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. It's just like, look, man, I have never once, I don't know about you, but I have never one time in my life, whether it's on social media or in person, ever for no reason just went and went after someone. I've never done that. I've only been the guy that says, okay, you want to do that? Let's go.
Yeah, finish it.
Yeah, finish it. Let's finish it.
Yeah, finish
but
it.
I've never done that.
Sorry.
And it doesn't compute to me to just see somebody make a post and then just go be toxic and attack them and call them names or do whatever it is. It's just like, it doesn't compute to me because in my generation, there's consequences for that.
Yeah, man, it's just swung too far, and like, it wore you down. Like you just said, it wore you down. You stopped being authentic in some way because you got tired of the feedback from it.
That's it.
You know, I'm at a point where like I feel like, and I think this is why I think I am like an anti-hero. I think a lot of people I resonate with. I say things they wish they could say or they want to say or they don't have a platform to say. Like I'm here to fight, and that could be about business, that could be about life, that could be about poker.
Yeah.
But I'm just pure, man, and I'm not gonna fucking change what I say because
I respect that.
Some bitch is gonna fucking make a comment.
No, I respect that. I respect that
because like that's the whole point of getting where I'm at is I can say where the fuck I want. You know, and I understand there's consequences for what I say or what I do, and I'm prepared to live with them.
Right.
You know, and like, fuck, I mean, I think everybody should be, because I think it adds a stress and anxiety when you just can't be authentic to who you really are, you know?
Honestly, this is the greatest podcast for me because you're hitting the nail on the head for me. I've probably not lived with more anxiety recently just because I have to sit on my hands, especially going through some of the stuff that we'll talk about later with this Jack forehand, and that, you know, I have sponsors, I have responsibilities. So it's like I'm caught sitting on my hands most of the time, and it's not my personality because I'm like you, I'm a fighter, but I'm fair. Like I don't start fights. I don't go after the weak. I like to protect them. But like I've found myself like sitting on my hands and my keyboard fingers, and it's very frustrating. So I admire that you're at that stage in your life where you could be that way. And there are a lot of people that will watch this, and a lot of the other folks that agree with this other ideology of the world now. But I'm still one who believes in that. So it's very refreshing to me. Most people are going to there are some people going to watch this and think you're a dick, right? Yeah. They'll think you're a bully. Mm-hmm. Okay, but who gives a shit?
I don't care.
Yeah, I know you don't care. I know. That's so funny to me.
The thing is, I don't start it. I'll always finish it.
No, I understand. And so let's talk about that. Like I said this joking to you before we started, and it's like, I didn't know who you were until this.
Yeah.
I did not know who you were until that. Phil. Either did Phil. Can you just walk me through, because I don't know. For those of you who don't know, did you know Phil? I know you know of Phil. Was there any talk prior to that? Was there any conversations or interactions prior to that meet? What made you take that approach? I know there has to be more than one reason. Like, just take me through that whole thing of why that happened, because I'll tell you, he was on monkey tilt, as you obviously know, and a lot of people are starting to push back on him, but nothing like that. So what was it a strategy, or was it just pure?
So what happened was, I somehow draw Phil Hellmuth, and we're sitting at a feature table, and I have a lot of awareness of who Phil Hellmuth is, and I have a lot of firsthand insight into seeing the way he's talked to a lot of recreational players. Honestly, like I don't really give a shit what Patrick and I are really close. Like he talks shit to Pat, who fucking cares? Phil Ivey, same thing. But like when you take a player who sits down at the table and they're like, "Wow, it's Phil Hellmuth. I'm super cool. I get to sit at the table," and then he's a fucking dick to them, and I've seen him cry and leave. Like,
really dejected by it. Yeah,
fuck that, man. Like, and so the thing is, my personality is such that he came out of the gates hot. He was talking shit to me.
So if he didn't say anything like that to you, you were not going to do that.
I don't need to do. No, I was responding proportionally. To his actions, and I mean, I did needle him in the beginning. I told him the reason we're on the feature table is me. And that's when the whole thing started.
Yeah,
he's like, what?
You poked at his ego.
Yeah, he's like, what? Like he didn't even understand it. But like quickly, he soon as he started talking shit, I just like, you got the wrong man. Like you're fucked. And you can see like then there's so many clips of it where he can't like he is he's out of his fucking mind. Like I got to, and what happened was I folded a straight, and when I folded a straight where he thought he was gonna get paid, that's when the wheels turned. I remember looking at you and like fuck him, and then from that moment on, I think for the next 40 minutes, I just fucking took him over. Like even to a point where I'm calling out that I need you to bluff me here. Like I know I have the best hand, and like he's like,
yeah,
fuck. And like it was fucking ridiculous. And I feel like, Phil is the ultimate fucking nit, because And now look, he's changed his behavior. I called him out for buying 10,000. Now he's pledging his buying.
Do you
for at least
think he will?
300,000.
And I want you to finish your thought, but do you think he will buy in for the 300 to 500? Do you think that will happen in a game with you and others?
I think that he's look. He's either gonna have to retire or do it because
Right.
he said that he's going to do it, and he's willing to play with me. I think his biggest problem is he really can't get a lineup because it's kind of like Wesley. You know, he might buy in for $1 million in a 5-5-10 game like he did when he bought him for 300,000 in some stupid little game he was going to do. It ended up getting canceled. It's actually with Hustler, and it was this little San Francisco club, and everyone's going to be buying in 10 grand. He's going to buy in 300. That doesn't matter. You know, like you need to buy in at least 300 when everyone else has 300.
Yeah, you have to have the ability to lose it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Like,
Got
so,
it.
So I think that ultimately that will happen, and
Yeah.
I think that he's gotten enough feedback and pushback, and he's realized, you know, and we've talked about it. It's not that I disagree with the strategy. When you buy in short and you knit up, I don't. If you're trying to win as a grinder in poker, what you're doing
That is the right strat if you're grinding to try to win.
That's the right move, man.
Yes, it is.
But if you are trying to build a brand and you're trying to get views and you're trying to stream and you're trying to
Right.
go into the upper echelons and you're trying to get in the games that I'm in,
You can't do it.
you can't do it.
Yeah, no, I get it.
know, and-
That's the politics of poker.
Yeah, and that's what people don't always understand. And there's a lot of people who sit in the chat groups and they're like, they think ultimately the scoreboard is if you win or lose.
No, totally. There's a lot of folks that the majority of the people that watch that don't understand the politics of poker, the politics of home games,
There's so
private
much.
games, streaming. It is so
It's
much
amazing.
and so complicated that we could literally talk for 3 hours about that, but most people don't get it.
And they'll never even have a viewpoint into it, and they'll never understand. I played a lot, about 30,000 hours of recorded life of my life playing poker, and and the Bellagio has a 10-20 game, which I think is probably the toughest 10-20 game in the world.
It's the toughest game in the world. Yes.
And what happens, and it's because it's a log jam, right? They get to this
Yeah.
game, they don't know how to get to the next step. So all these people are successful there, but they don't know how to get to the next game.
That's right.
The next game.
And the next game is in the room with Justin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
even tougher. And so, like,
Yeah.
at this point, they've learned this GTO strategy, and they're highly effective, but they're capped.
They're capped,
Their
yeah.
career is basically over. They're labeled a pro poker player. They're never going to get into big private games. They're never going to get
That's
into the
right.
next step. And so, a lot of them make a good enough life that they're happy with that. And
Yeah, it
that's
depends
fine.
what they want.
It all depends on what they want.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it. It's just what your goal is. Doing that is not going to get you to the next level or in the private games or whatever because it just doesn't go together. I get it.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and that's where I think people get confused because if you want to play in the biggest games in the world, you have to be able to get in the biggest games in the
Yeah,
world.
of course.
And so you have to have a strategy that allows you to get there.
Totally.
So for all those people who think that they too could do it, go fuck yourself because you can't, or you'd be doing it.
Yeah, true. And are you and Phil friends?
Phil Ivey?
No,
Or Hellmuth?
Phil Hellmuth. Back to the point.
I would say we're frenemies.
Your frenemies. And did you guys talk after that heads up match?
He gave me a bullshit apology when I was beating Dan Shack in the next round, and he put it on Twitter, and I called him out at Live at the Bike for
Yeah, I remember
such
that
a
interview.
bitch ass apology, like
Yeah.
But like,
So you're not close,
we're not close,
but you're not enemies.
We're not enemies. Like,
Me is a nice guy, even though he has his quirks, right?
and plus it's like picking on a 3-year-old. So how much fun can that be?
Yeah, you can't do that. That's not fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. And well, we're gonna try to put that game together. We almost had that, but I think there was something pulled out, right? We almost had Phil, didn't we, recently?
Yeah.
With you and
I wasn't going to be in that game. Actually, it was Keating. Keating was going to be. It was a San Francisco home game or whatever.
That's what it was. Yeah,
Ended
that's
up
right.
Getting, ended up
Yeah.
getting canceled.
It got canceled. Yeah. Who are your favorite people to play with and why?
A perfect lineup for me,
Mm-hmm.
because at this point in my life, I like to just play with people I want to play with that I like. So it's like,
Yeah, I
I'm
get
always
that.
I'm always going to have Hanks. I'm always going to have Alan. I'm always going to have Patrick. And if I can pull JRB and Negreanu, I do that too. And then I probably have just a couple randoms that are new people that can sort of come into the conversation.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, a perfect lineup isn't always the way. Like, a lot of people would be thinking, like, what's the most profitable lineup is perfect. For me, I actually do better in games like that, but it's more about how I use my time. And so,
Do you care if you win?
yeah, I mean, I keep records, and it's very important.
Yeah,
that
it is
that
important
I
to you.
win. Like, winning in anything I do in life is actually one of the biggest.
Even though sometimes you're losing, sometimes because you're playing a strat that is going to be more long-term plus EV to get into games, etc. So how do you chalk up those losses that probably wouldn't be losses if you didn't play to entertain.
I mean, that's like last night. It stresses out Ann, bothers her. She knows like I made 3 bluffs into spots that I probably shouldn't have done, and she's watching on a delayed basis, so she knows where I'm at. And she knows this bluff's going to come.
So Ann understands the game?
Yeah, she plays 5-10. And,
nice.
And she gets stressed out by all that stuff.
By this stuff, yeah.
I see this fucking tiny $60,000 bet. I'm like, come on, man. Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't even care.
How long have you guys been married?
I've been with her parts of 3 decades.
That's cool. That's awesome. Good for you guys. Now, what the fuck does that mean? Because she's laughing, you're laughing. Are you guys not married?
No, she disagrees. Like, we've been married like 15 years.
But you've been together for almost 30 years.
But parts of 3 decades.
That's cool, though, man. Parts of 3 decades. Oh, I got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's not fully 30 years.
Yeah, on and off, 15 years, here and there. In his younger days, he was hard to pin down. Who knows what it is? But okay, we'll leave it at that. But it's good. You can tell you guys are close because you reference her on a lot of different things, and you're lucky to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
no, it's really, really cool. I could feel the vibe. So, who... I feel like I could fucking ask you anything, and I'm gonna. Who do you can't stand in poker? Are there any poker players you're just like, dude, I do not like that person, and why?
I mean, and there's some wrecks. I won't name that. It's not fair. So like, I'd have to talk about people who are just in the public space, and so when I think about,
They wouldn't know the Rex, would they?
I mean, I just don't want to be a dick to the Rex. Like, it's just super mean. Like,
that's fine. You answer how you want.
I have such a disproportionate platform, and plus, then my followers will go after those people. It's like,
yeah, no, it's cool, man. You do whatever you think's right. Answer the question how you want, or you don't have to answer.
I would. There are people that I don't want to play with, and if they're in the game, I just don't come.
Is it because you don't like that person, or you just don't like how they play?
Well, usually they're like really shitty players, but I don't like their attitude.
That's what I'm saying. Who don't you like? And again, don't name the Rex, but is there anyone that anyone knows that you don't care to name that you're like, I just don't like this person?
Yeah, it happens all the time. So like people organize privates, they know if there's certain players that I'm just not going to go, and I'm very profitable against them. That's never the reason.
It doesn't matter. I get it. You don't want to be around people that you don't like.
I don't want to use my time
same way.
hanging out with people that I just don't want to be around.
Yeah.
There was a time when I was going to undergrad, I'd line up the fucking door to play with these fucking people because I need the money.
Yeah.
But that day's passed. So now I play with people I enjoy.
Yeah, because you're going to spend your time the way you want to spend it.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get a name.
No.
That's cool. That's cool. I thought I'd get one. I thought you were the type. But that's okay, because I think that's the smarter route. But, that's fine. Don't do it. Don't do it. Let's just move on.
I don't think I got one.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
That I can name is fair.
Who do you like the most in poker? Like the most as a person, not a player.
I mean, I'm the closest with Antonius, and
he was a big hit last night. Everyone was in the chat and saying, "What a class act! The way he acted, how he takes everything."
I'm really good for him because he's been obviously doing TV for a really long time, and we started playing together in high stakes poker, and I get him to talk, and I think that's one of these things. For so long when he was on TV, he didn't talk a lot, and he just
that's right.
And so now, especially when he's with me, there's conversation, there's things coming, and it's. I think people
you're
really
helping bring him out.
I think people really enjoy it because
for sure.
Patrick's a super nice guy and he's super funny, and he gets comfortable around me. He's even fucking cussing yesterday. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's not his MO online on stream.
I know.
That's cool.
I have an ability to degenerate people.
Yeah. That's right. What your biggest loss and your biggest win in a game?
I went over $1 million many times,
yeah.
And I've lost. I don't know, Ann. What do you think's my biggest loss? 800. I don't even know if I lost 800. I've lost $1 million.
How'd you feel about that, Ann? Did it stress you out?
It was all within like a 30-minute period.
Oh yeah, no gamble, no future. I lost $1 million on that.
In 30 minutes because the show was about to end.
Were you freaking out?
It's fucked up, Nick. With like 30 minutes to go, I stacked Hanks. And what people don't understand is Alan, Hanks, and I...
Go closer to the mic, just for my guy.
What people don't understand is Alan, Hanks, and I play all the fucking time.
Yeah.
We probably traded $40 million in
back
hands
and forth,
in the last 3 months.
Right.
And so with 30 minutes to go, I stack Hanks with kings. And he's vomiting. He's like, no one knows how to feel except you, Alan. He's like, oh, he's so demoralized. And then with like 5 hands to go, that motherfucker gets dealt a flop flush when I flop 2 pairs, and Alan holds the ace of clubs. So he has a nut draw, redraw. We get it all in again. And of course he wins, and that's what Ann's talking about. So that swings $1 million.
Yeah.
And And that's my biggest loss was
Sure.
our no gamble, no future. I win more than I lose, thankfully, and my big wins are bigger than my big losses.
That's good, yeah.
But at the levels we're playing, and especially with that group, because we just go down to Aria afterwards and play even more. It's like there's big hands, and I think later, not that night, but the next day, I ended up fucking stacking Allen for like 800. It just wasn't on TV.
Right. So I always ask people this, that I think the number would be interesting. You don't have to answer. What's your net worth?
There's so many ways you calculate net worth, and,
Yeah.
and based on the valuation of my businesses, and
Yeah, of course.
you could argue that I'm a billionaire or that I'm not. It's just
Right.
depend.
You're on the bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah, depending on how you add it up.
Yeah.
I think either which way you go, a little bit this way or that way, I don't think it matters if it's that number, right?
It's around there somewhere.
That maybe makes sense why you could dust off 250 and not worry about it. So these are things that I think people really want to know. Like the person watching or your fans, or has anyone ever asked you that on a show?
Oh yeah, I mean,
they
message, not on a show, but people message me.
Well, they message you, but this has never been a public statement.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I
no.
think people are going to dig it. They want to know, man.
Yeah.
Okay. How about this? And I'll just let you. I'm gonna ask you a question, and then I'm gonna kind of preface it to me. So September 29th, we had the big Jack forehand, right?
Yeah.
And we're still in the middle. People are, been trolling me about still investigating. Oh, what are we doing? Well, it takes a long time. We got investigators still making calls. Things happening. We just finished with our cyber stuff. So I stay neutral to this. Yeah. So I'm just going to be asking you the questions because I think it's the right thing for me to do. And I've said this often, and I'm going to say it again. I believe wholeheartedly, and this is not on anyone's side or not side, I believe wholeheartedly, like in a situation where it's one hand and there's not any sample size to go for 2 years, 3 years and look over something, that it's almost impossible for someone to have anything but an opinion. And I am a innocent until proven guilty guy. And especially when it comes to someone's reputation, because if, for example, somebody is innocent and a million people get out there and they start coming up with all these things that have come, I think it's a shitty thing. And that's why, we have to let the process go. But I don't care what your opinion is, meaning like I want you to sling it. What do you think about that whole thing, including Robbie, Garrett, what your thoughts are on the hand, what your thoughts are, anything you want. It's just freelance.
Yeah, so the way to think about it is, and I'll walk you through it in real time. And first of all, Garrett, I think wholeheartedly has a lot of conviction and believes sincerely what his opinion is.
I do too.
And I think that his reputation is such that it ends up giving a lot of credibility. And so, I think a lot of Garrett. I think of him as a poker player. I actually think as a person.
Same.
And so I believe that he really truly in his heart, and he's had a lot of access to private games where he probably didn't have honest outcomes, and he had some different life experiences. I grew up in casinos playing in regulated games, and
yes,
and so never had things like that. And
yeah,
and so that's first off. So I can tell you in real time when Garrett did that, I was like, fuck, what Garrett's going to do is bust this fucking game, and these two ding dongs, Rip and Robbie, are going to quit, and the game's going to bust. And so I do an interview.
So you weren't happy about that?
No, and I say, look, they can play with me anytime because they can.
Yeah.
And so when I look at that, and it was she cheating? Well, here's the thing. I don't know, and I think that I don't always have all the information, but I have the information I had firsthand, right? So I can tell you that when Rip realized she was giving the money back, and previous to that moment, he wasn't nervous and trying to exit the building, like if someone's guilty. Robbie hangs out 2 hours after the fucking stream and is talking to Nick or Ryan and just
and me,
yeah, and just there, and that's not something I think someone who's a criminal probably does. And then she goes on every fucking media. She loves the social media, and I'm a lawyer, right? So if you're guilty, your lawyer would tell you shut the fuck up, and she's in the opposite, shutting the fuck up, and so you look at all those actions, and then you look at her pressing charges on Brian, which is my understanding.
Mm-hmm. She did,
and so if you do that, then Brian he had a chance to get this $200,000. He has a previous criminal record, I'm told. He would rat her out in a second.
Right.
So
that is true.
So all these things lean to a spot where if someone puts a gun to my head, I would say that she's just a dingbat and made a fucking and then this call on that spot is even more ridiculous, which adds even more to the complexity of it.
Of course.
She had this hand against me where I have ace 8 and she has ace king.
Yeah.
I don't
min raised the turn.
I just don't, with only a small amount behind her, and I just don't think that she's overall should be technically capable of doing that. It was a really good play, and if Robbie, you did do that. So I've never used a time extension in my life. That's the first one I ever used. I came to the conclusion, I knew I had the best hand, but I believed she was going to call. That's why I had to use a time extension. And that shocked me. And I'm very rarely ever, I'm a very fast player. And I was very surprised to see her do that. So where I sit
what does it mean?
To me, it means that that's a play that I did not think was in a range. And at the time, as I was thinking about it, it made me feel like it was more likely than not that maybe there was some other. So you're saying it sways back and forth with different factors. But over time, I rested on a spot where I think it's more likely than not she was not cheating.
Right. I got it. And
but if she was, I wouldn't be shocked.
No, I understand.
Like,
I think that's a fair-minded analyzation of it. I really do, because it's hard to. You can't just know. No one knows. Why do you think she gave the money back?
And that's one of the things in the time. Like, why would you give the money back? Like even if you are a crim, why would you give the money back? Like, you really thought it was just going to go away? Like,
right.
You have to. It makes no sense. Like,
yeah.
I think
it is befuddling. Correct.
One of the things that I'll say in a general sense, and I don't know Robbie, and so this doesn't necessarily apply to her, but what I can tell you is in a stressful situation, which that seems like it would be a stressful situation. Right. And I've had, I've had a reasonable amount of women in my life, and a lot of women can be accommodating. Like they think that maybe this will make things better or go away, or like,
sure.
Like, they're not built like me. You give me, if I win that fucking hand and you tell me to give the money back, I said, go fuck yourself.
No, I get it. Right.
But she did not.
But that's not. But she's not you. Yeah, and that's what you're saying.
And so like, it may be more the way she's shaped and just her personality set. Sure. And maybe she's hoping that she wanted to stream a lot. I think she likes the attention, and she's like, man, I don't want to get kicked out of Hustler. Maybe she's thinking I can't speak for her mind.
I understand.
But it's like there's a lot of reasons. I think it was a mistake to give the money back, but there's a lot of reasons where it happens probably.
Sure. And what do you think? I've never asked you this question. It's not a setup question for anyone listening that thinks it is. What do you think about the circus that was made around it for the next 3 weeks after that, and how Rex, pros, content creators, and you already know this. I've been attacked for things. Been accused of being a part of it. So has my staff, and I was going to say, and so have you, for mouthing something, winking,
so stupid,
all that shit. So what's your thoughts on that whole question?
That's social media, man. And for me, the most productive way to think about it, and this is just how I'm wired, is Robbie's irrelevant. She really is. Sorry, Robbie. I don't think you're going to be the next superstar in poker, and I just don't. But prove me wrong, and that's what's amazing about poker, because it's not. It doesn't matter if you're man or woman, rich or poor. If you're good enough, you can get there. But what matters is that we have safe, secure streaming environments, and that we have controls where there's confidence that when it come in for the amounts of money, especially like Al and I, Hanks, JRB coming in, we're going to be really fucking big, and we got to know that the shit's up and legit, and our whole card is being displayed in real time. Is there a 30-minute delay, or just all these different things will get asked eventually, I think, and we're counting on really you guys to come back at the end, and obviously I'm streaming in the meantime, right?
Yeah, of course.
And tell us what's going to be different.
Did you have to use one of those new bags we gave you yesterday? Was that in play?
I don't bring anything in the room.
You don't bring anything?
No,
okay.
They just won me, and I came in.
Got it. How do you feel, like, honestly, how do you feel about being accused of being part of that?
It's fucking ridiculous. Like, the thing is, like, it's made by people who just aren't that educated as to who I am. And so when you are in the industry I'm at, and the amount of background checks that I have to go through, and the amount of licenses I have to have my casinos, and where my fucking wealth comes from,
you're right.
It doesn't come from winning even $1 million in a fucking poker game, or losing $200,000. it comes from Maverick.
You know what
Gaming.
the answer to the Nimrods that want to continue with that thought process? Well, he may be a billionaire. He may have all this money, and it may not be a lot. But some people love the rush of cheating. They love the rush of getting over on someone, and that to me is just I just think it's ridiculous. I thought it was ridiculous. I still think it's ridiculous, but that's how someone gets past what you just said.
Yeah, I mean, and they can like anybody can find a way to do whatever. But like from a logic standpoint, my money comes from Maverick Gaming. And I'm a profitable poker player, and I'll make more in a year than most people make their entire lives playing poker. But that being said, I make even more at Maverick Gaming.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, I get it. Is there anything about you that's misunderstood, or are you just everything on your sleeve type of guy? Like, is there anything out there where you could say you're literally different than how polarizing you are as far as how you look, carry yourself? Is there maybe I should ask Ann, but is there a different side of you, or is this what you see, what you get?
I don't know, man. Like, what do you think, Ann?
What do you think, Ann?
You're a really good dad and husband. I don't think he would ever, like, he plays with his kids, he does.
Yeah. He's really engaged with his family, his kids.
He's like a big teddy bear with his kids. And
Yeah.
like, you would never think that he would be like.
And you're correct. Actually, I could tell because I could tell about your connection. I'm not bullshitting either. There's no reason for me to, but definitely can see that. And that would lead to my next question, which I know is the answer. What is the absolute most important thing to you in life?
You know, it's one of the things I think about all the time. It's like, for me, like the most important thing when I wake up every day is, you know, I try to be a better man, try to be a better husband.
Yeah.
Try to be more successful in whatever the fuck I'm doing. Try to make my children more.
Yeah, you get emotional when you talk about it because it means that much to you. You're going to fucking make me cry. Two fucking alpha males going to fucking cry, and we got Ann over there laughing at us. No, I dig, dude. I'm glad I interviewed you because I dig that. I respect that more than anything you said here today. I'm the same way, man. So kudos to you for being the exact person that I think a lot of people would want to be. I respect, and I don't, dude, just so you know, even though I've watered my shit down because of all the things I told you, I'm not a bullshitter. I'm not an ass kisser. I'm not an Insta bro. I don't care about people who have wealth. I will give the person who has less as much attention as time as someone who has a ton. I hate that kind of shit. So when I say this, I'm letting you know it's sincere. I respect the shit out of you at least getting to a place in your life where you don't give a shit and you can say and be who you want. I really respect that. And your last answer about your kids and your wife is the absolute nuts. And you literally are the epitome of someone who has everything. And so however that happened, whatever you did to make that happen, God bless both of you because it's a really cool situation to be in. And I mean that. Is there anything else you want to say, talk about before we close this thing out, before you go dunk off another $250,000?
You know, I don't know. Like, I think we've covered a lot of topics. And no.
Well, I appreciate you coming all the way down to do this. I asked you, you said yes. You were easy about it. I do appreciate that. I think your fans, and like you said, even the people who don't like you will appreciate this podcast. I did save that clip you sent me from Howard Stern, and it resonated with me, which again, if you're listening, was basically, what'd they call that guy? Rat guts or puke guts?
Yeah,
what the fuck? Anyways, the guy that hated him, his producer, was basically trying to get him out, and he's talking to the guy, and he's like, but people who love him, the viewers up. Well, people who hate him are watching him, and there was just no stopping Howard Stern. And no matter how many fans he had and how many haters, he was popular for that. And I think that's kind of the same for you. And I've said this to many people too, you know, I take a lot of shit. I take a lot of heat too because my personality is a lot like yours, and for a lot of other reasons, and especially through this Robbie Garrett thing. But I'll tell you what, when the rubber hits the road, and I'm out in public, or maybe just people don't have the guts, but like I was at the WSOP, I go to different casinos. I get probably like you, I get a ton of people saying and doing nice things and etc. So if you're out there, just push past the idiots. And again, thank you for coming in and taking your time to do that.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. Okay, there it is. Eric Persson, his lovely wife, Ann, who, can you come in and just show him who you are? Just come and say hi. Just walk to the front and say, hi, I'm Ann. Come sit next to your husband, sit on his lap, whatever. This is the the power behind the power right here. I can tell you for sure. Thank you guys. This is the Nick Vertucci Show. I am Nick Vertucci. Again, thank you. Envy out.